Hi, my name's Steven, and welcome to my custom diecast model building channel. Custom diecast models. That sounds great, Steven, but what do you do? Well, I take models like this, Joel Caterpillar D5C, and I turn them into things like this. Caterpillar 939 and Caterpillar 933 LGP. Before I show you guys these models that I built, I'll go over the channel and what I do on it. Basically what I like to do is take 148 and 150 scale die cast models, and I like to customize them. Sometimes the customizations can be something extravagant, like building a front end loader component out of brass and styrene, or something as simple as simply taking a model and creating more details for it, like maybe hydraulic lines or enhancing a barren driver's operator station, or a dozer operator station. Other things I may do is take plastic models. For example, I have a half track. It is a 148 scale half track, and I want to do something creative with it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but that's something I definitely like to put on the channel. And other things, mediums like wood. I have a knife that's got a handle on it. It's made out of this rubber that's literally coming apart. It's like Play-Doh, and I want to make a new wooden handle for it, and I think it would be fun to do a video on that. So most of my videos will be model based, taking models and improving them. Other videos I will do will be reviews of some of the machinery, or I should say tools, drills, sanding equipment, saws that I have. I'm a more budget conscious builder. I don't make a lot of money in my job, so I have to save money where I can when I do model building, and I think that a good portion of the model building community is in my same boat. I originally started building models because there were models out on the market that I wanted but couldn't afford, so I took lesser detailed models and did what I could to make them more detailed. And over the years I've been able to get to the point where I can now take and make an entire brass front end loader for a dozer and turn it into a cat track loader. So both of these models that you see here, everything from here forwards was custom built by me out of brass. This bucket was made completely from scratch. It's multiple pieces of brass soldered together. None of it was robbed from another machine. The hydraulics themselves I made out of brass and plated with a plating kit. The exhaust is made out of brass because I didn't like the plastic one. I thought it was too flimsy. The counterweights here on the back are made out of plastic. And then you can see inside the operator station, and I think I should probably get a better light so that you guys can see, but I did enhance that as well. I built all the railings and I detailed the seat and gave it a headrest, redid the armrests, added new levers to it, made the decals. All this stuff is stuff I'm going to show you guys how to do on this channel. And let's go over to this guy, the 933 LGP. This was the first one that I did. This was my first brass model, and I learned a lot of lessons doing this one, and I learned a lot of lessons about how to use hand tools and how to use power tools and how to manipulate brass. And as you can see, it's not exactly geometrically correct. Some of my holes were not lined up, whereas the holes on the other model that you see here are lined up. The cab was made out of plastic. This is basically the same plastic that you would find in a picture frame. I cut it to fit inside the pre-existing metal cab, and I laid outside piece of styrene on there that was cut to look like the windows on the model. So there's a lot that you can do out there with not a lot of money. This is very inexpensive amount of materials in here, and the tools that I've purchased to do this are some of your most basic tools. I'll probably do a shop tour and show you guys how to set up a shop in a small space, and also go over how to keep yourself organized, because I started out as the least organized person in the world, losing stuff left and right. Alright, so I've gone over the models that I previously did with you. I'm going to go over my next project. As you see, this is a Norscot Caterpillar D11R. And what I'm going to do with this model is turn it into a Caterpillar D11N. Now those of you who know heavy equipment know there's not a whole lot of a difference between a D11R and a D11N as far as the aesthetics are concerned. I'm just a bigger fan of heavy equipment from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and I like the D11N because it's the first D11 that Cat brought out, replacing the Caterpillar D10 when they readjusted their equipment line. And there's something I like about the older Cat equipment. It's got a little less black paint on it, has more of that throwback look to it. There is one large aesthetic difference between the D11R and the early D11Ns, and that is with this rear section right here. This is where Caterpillar houses the hydraulic fluid tanks, and then in the back is the diesel tank, the fuel tank. And around 1993, Caterpillar added this little notch that you see in the back there, and they also added a hole in what was originally a pretty solid plate down here in the bottom of the ripper. And the reason they did that is so that the driver would have a better visual plane when he looked out the back down to the ripper and could actually see what the ripper was doing in the dirt. The older D11s, the ones that go from 1986 to about 1992, did not have that feature, which is something that really stands out about those first dozers. And then I believe some of the paneling here and here was a little bit different. The Norscot model it's an okay model. It's your typical late 90s model. There are a few flaws on here, and I will point them out to you guys. The first flaw, and the most notable flaw for those of you who are a bit more astute, is the cab. Norscot got the cab on this thing so wrong. How they got it correct on the D8 and then totally missed on this one, I don't know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm sorry if you have this model and I'm wrecking it for you, but see the window line here on the front? That's supposed to match up with the window line of the ones on the side. These aren't supposed to be that tall. They're supposed to be a little bit further down. And also, it's hard to see because of the rollover protection, and I'll show it to you guys later when we break the model down. But this small window right here is supposed to be in the back, and then the larger square window is supposed to be in the front, and it would have like a sliding function in it. So Norscot kind of messed that one up. Another thing they kind of screwed up on was the way the rippers are laid out. I don't know why they did it this way, but this hydraulic down here is supposed to be a little bit longer. It's actually supposed to come out to, the cylinder is supposed to come out almost all the way to here, allowing the piston to come down farther, but Norscot has limited this to come down this far. This lower piece right here is supposed to be a little longer as well. That's probably not something that I'm going to change in the model. Let me go over the changes that I will be making to this model. Let's start from the front. So we have a very poorly detailed blade here. So one major change that I'm going to be making to it is taking a rotary tool and opening up all of the little spots in the top of the blade. I believe that portion of the blade is called the gate. I think I've heard it called that, or the fence. We'll call it the gate because it looks like a gate. And then I'm going to also be detailing the cutting edge. There should be various notches, lines in it where the various different plates would meet up. And then the side of the blade is very poorly detailed as well, so I'll probably thin that out a bit and give it a more realistic look. On the back of the blade here, we can see rivets. Those will get filled, and as well as the casting lines. I do believe that the full-size model does not have that, and I may fill in the line right here where the two pieces meet as well. On the underside of the blade, it is hollow, which does not look very good. You're probably not even going to see it when it's sitting on a shelf, but I may go and fill that in as well. Moving back. The hood unit, we have simulated grates or engine grills. I'm going to cut those out, and I'll be replacing that with some etched metal ones. And then the grab rails are all plastic. I'm going to replace those with brass ones because they just look lame. I don't like the look of the the overly thick plastic, and I don't like how flexy it is. I'm also going to be replacing the exhaust pipes with metal ones. And then one of the biggest changes that I'm going to make to this model, along with filling in this spot, and we'll go over that in a second, is going to be the ripper. The ripper on this leaves a lot to be desired. It's put out in its furthest position because Norscot wanted you to be able to probably get it into the dirt if you were playing with this as a kid, and that was kind of because of their oversight with the hydraulics there. So the shank is actually going to get cut off. I'm going to take this and hollow it out, and then I'm going to make a new shank out of brass. I'm also going to find a way to make a functioning lock for this. As you can see, they simulated the lock here. That's going bye-bye, and I'm actually going to try to make, I'm going to make one out of brass. All of the panel lines here where the different cast pieces are put together will all be filled in and made uniform, as well as the screw hole and cast lines in the back here. Those will all be filled in and made uniform. As I stated before, this is going to reflect the early 90s Caterpillar, or I should say the 1986 through early 90s D11, so I will find a way to I probably won't fill this in with putty, just because I've found in the past that trying to hide lines from putty is a lot harder than just creating a whole new piece to cover it. So I'll probably, out of brass or maybe styrene, most likely brass, create a piece that covers all of that. I'm contemplating fixing the windows on the cab, but we'll see when we get there if I have the desire to do that. I might just leave it. I probably won't, because I'm going to be painting the cab yellow, and it's going to stand out more and it's going to bug me, so I probably will try to find a way to fix that. The inside of the cab will be getting detailed. It's kind of hard to see in there, but I will do my best to detail it. And for this generation, the one that I'm doing, Cat actually painted the inside of the cab what they call Mojave brown. It's a darker color brown, which may actually make it a little harder to see the details, but we shall see. And once the cab's painted yellow, maybe it will be more visible. There's one more thing. Decals. For 1986, so let's go to the history of Cat decals real quick. From 1969 until 1989, Caterpillar utilized the what they call it the Pac-Man logo, or some people call it the Block C logo. It's Caterpillar's old school logo with like the C, and then it would have like the model number after it. In 1987, Caterpillar got rid of the C with the model number behind it and did this large stripe on the bottom, small stripe on the top, with the model number in it. And then usually on the hood, either in front of or behind the cab, they would have had like a stainless steel medallion that had the Cat logo on it. They used that up until 1989 when they introduced the newer Cat logo that we all know and love. And then in the early 90s, they started adding the red stripe to it. But 1986 was kind of a special year for this, because it was the only year that it got the old school Cat livery on it, and I think they only used it for about half a year. So that's what I'm going to do for this one, is I'm going to do the old school Pac-Man with the D11N in it, and yeah, it should look pretty good. So our next video is going to be just that. It's going to be me tearing this model down and going over the first initial steps of getting ready to do a project, and that's pretty much how we're going to do all of them. All my projects will be broken down into phases, and I will babble on and hopefully entertain you guys with building models. I love building models. I've been doing it since I was in high school. It started with plastic car models, and then once I got a job and I could go buy the diecast models that I always wanted when I was a kid and could never afford. You're never too old to play with these things. If you ever have reservations about buying diecast models, you think people are going to make fun of you, forget that. If you like them, get them, enjoy them. I remember flipping through the catalogs and just wishing I had these things, because I grew up around heavy equipment my whole life, and I've always just found it to be kind of nostalgic to have models of the machines that I remember remember seeing when I was a kid. So I hope you guys enjoy my channel. It's definitely gonna grow, not in like viewership, I'm not trying to be cocky here, but in my skill levels as a builder and as a videographer and as somebody who's trying to talk to a camera. So hang in there, guys. The videos are going to be kind of rough in the beginning probably, but it should get fun, man. We're going to have a good time here. I'll see you guys next time. Should have a video out next week. Like I said, I'm going to get these things out weekly, and it's going to be a fun trip. We're going to have a good time. See you guys later.